So, this hot topic, we're talking. Well, before I even say what we're talking about, let me give you a little run around what happened. So this week, Jimmy Butler came out and talked about. He just came out and said, "Yo, I demand a trade. I want to trade, and this is where I want you to trade me." Like the nerve. A lot of NBA players get away with this. Where I want to get out of my contract. I want to be traded. I don't want to wear red shoes. I want to wear blue shoes. All of that, And now Minnesota's like, okay, so we're listening to trades. And like, what?
Wait, Tibbs what?
Tibbs wasn't, but
He said, hey. Tibbs say, hey, you here.
nah, Tibbs said, hey, I hate that you feel that way.
This how this gonna go though.
Right. But now they're listening to trades.
I can't stand this.
So my question is, how much power should players have in professional sports?
So here's the thing with me, right? Like you sign a contract, right? Like you sign a contract. You sign a contract because you want to be with this team, right? Even when the Bulls traded him, you know what I mean? It was kind of I think that was more mutual, so it wasn't that bad. But you wanted to go be with Tibbs, right?
Right.
Like he agreed to that. He wanted to go to Tibbs. It was great. It was, you know what I mean? And from what I'm hearing, it's not what the like animosity between him and Cat and Wiggins. It's not that as much as people think, right? It's more so his contract situation after this season, him being able to sign up for a bigger contract, and they know that Wiggins is paid, Cat finna be paid. And is it going to strap them? Is he going to be able? Are they going to be able to win there or get another superstar? Things of that magnitude.
I think as part of it is that the Minnesota really doesn't have the cap space to sign him to the max contract that he should get. I mean, I think Wiggins is actually making more money than him. So,
yes.
And I feel like there's a little bit of discourse between him and Wiggins and Cap because Jimmy Butler is this like hard scrabble story. Yeah, he was a late first round pick, but he kind of came out of nowhere and he worked himself to this star status while Wiggins and Cat are number one picks and everything's been handed to him. So there's a little bit of animosity there to where it's like, why aren't you working as hard as me? And because they have underachieved, especially, well, I would say more Wiggins has underachieved.
And I can't so that kind of happened in Chicago, right? When him and D Rose and the Joakim Noah situation, right? Like, first off, Joe was always a hard worker, so I don't even know. But Jimmy, you can't determine how somebody else do something, right? You can't determine how hard they work. Like, you are you, and they're them. Like, it's a situation, right? Like, I think they say one of the big things is that Draymond Green and KD hang out a lot because they're from the same, kind of background. And then Steph and Clay kind of hang out because they have the same background, like coming from something, right? So that's kind of how Jimmy is. And I'm not saying the money part, but I work hard. I came from here, so you supposed to do it the exact same way. That's not valid, man.
Hey, but I feel it though, because that's how, think about it. And that's how I grew up. You look at Jordan. Jordan was like that. Jordan, now, it was like, all right, Jordan, everybody can't be you. But Jordan was like, why can't you put in the work that I'm putting in? If I'm the leader, you need to follow me.
Well, also consider that he came from he played for Tibbs in Chicago, and they were championship contenders.
Right.
And then when he's traded to Minnesota, it was supposed to be as if he is the piece that they need to be a contender in the West. But this was a team that hadn't made the playoffs since they traded Kevin Garnett.
Right.
So there was supposed to be this big jump made, and that jump was never made.
Right.
So now, then with that, and you spoke on it, D, as far as what he's really holding out for, not holding out, but demanding the trade for, which makes sense. I hear what you're saying, G. So now, we see this a lot in the NBA, though. We see a lot of people say, I want to get traded. I don't want to be here. Move me or whatever. Sometimes it happens. Sometimes it don't. Most of the time, it's starting to happen. Who's to blame for this? Like, who do you think? Where did this come from?
This is part of the collective bargaining agreement. I mean, I don't know the specifics, but and also with just the sport of basketball, as far as a player having talent, he can play anywhere. He can play for anybody.
Right.
That's kind of like the notion that people have, as opposed to football, to where like, okay, if you can't trade a 3-4 linebacker to a team that plays the 4-3,
right?
Because his role is going to be different. You can't just trade him there, even though he has this talent, but it's for a specific scheme. The scheme part isn't a big thing in the NBA. If a guy is a shooter and we need a shooter, I mean, there's certain skill sets that can work, but the notion is that any NBA player can play for any team. And also it's easier to make trades in the NBA because all you have to do is make salaries match. And if something else, and if the salaries don't match, you can get a third team involved. So because there are ways for trades to get made, and with, certain contract things coming up, then it makes it easier for a player to kind of dictate where they want to go before they're a free agent. So because of like things in a collective bargaining agreement, players can control more of what they want to do, because basically you get drafted, you're probably going to be there 6-7 years because you always sign that first extension, and then you can become a free agent. But if it's not working out, then you can kind of use they have the power to kind of dictate where they want to go.
And I just thought about this real quick. I just thought about the trades, because at first, I don't like this. I'm against that. Where I want players to have, I don't want them to be where general managers can just dangle them and do whatever they want. I get that, but at the same time, I just thought about this. Usually, hockey, they make trades, but it's usually during trade deadline. Baseball, you see it a lot close to trade deadline coming up on the playoffs. Football, like, rarely. I mean, you see more trades in fantasy football than regular football.
Yeah, no, it's not.
It don't happen. So I guess I understand why teams say, you know what, if he's unhappy, we can get something out of this, rather him just be unhappy and then he leaves.
And that's the point that I was going to go to when you was going to say who to blame, right? Like, you can say the player, right? And then you can also say the owner or the GM, right? But it's kind of like if the GM doesn't trade him, right? Like, what do you get? Like, let's say with the Kyrie issue, right? Like, you make Kyrie stay in Cleveland. And then when his contract up, what'd he do? He gonna leave, and then you don't get nothing. Yep. So it's kind of like, I got to get something. So who's to blame? And it's kind of on both ends, because that first player that made the situation happen, right, he kicked it off, but that owner could have said, you know what, you're going to sit here, but he's not going to get nothing when it's time to go.
And it's the kind of league to where if you get one player, where one player can like flip how a team performs. I know that it doesn't happen all the time, but like if a LeBron going back to Cleveland, right. They were sorry for 4 years. He goes back to Cleveland.
Instantly in the
They're
finals.
in the finals.
and I think it's more of I don't want to say more of a brotherhood in the NBA than it is in the NFL, but it kind of is, right? Because like they kind of like when you hear this,
disagree.
Huh?
I
don't know. But the reason I say that is because I mean, as far as on the business end, right? Because like, okay, you get this player, he's like, well, this was gonna happen. I'm gonna do this, and then everybody else kind of do it. In the NFL, it's kind of like, yeah, I'm gonna worry about me. I'm gonna do me, and I mean that on the business side, the contract side.
Yeah, because with the NFL, there really isn't that a lot of control. Like players, yeah, they may be free agents, but they always have to go like where the money is. With the NBA, and go where, okay, who's on the team, who can I play with, who do I know, what's my marketability, and can they match what I'm looking for? What kind of salary can I get? So there's a little more. There are more factors that an NBA player has as far as being a free agent. But like I said, they can go anywhere. So basically, it's like whatever makes them happiest, really.
And then basically, if Antonio Brown was in the NBA, he probably would have been
He
traded.
probably been traded by now.
Especially what he said. Trade me
But
then.
see, and
he didn't want.
He didn't.
want
It
to
was,
be
I know
traded.
that.
and he wasn't
being
even
funny.
saying
I know
that.
that.
He was
I
just
know that. I'm just being
no,
funny.
I get it, but I wanted to. I'm glad you brought that up because they made it that, and that's not why should the trade shouldn't even been something that was talked about on any other network because dude, the guy just brought that up saying that he was like, well, trade me then.
Right.
It wasn't. You know what I'm saying?
We're gonna get into that in NFL now. Real quickly, I just want to know: do y'all think that this hurts the fans when you have things like that happen?
It does. It make you feel like a baby. I'm a fan. It make me feel like even Kawhi, as much as I like him, it make you seem like a baby. Like when you don't get your way or whatever the case may
Right.
be, you wind your way out of one situation into another situation.
It can-
Man up, you sign the contract, and then after your contract, do what you got to do.
Yeah, it can seem that way. Like it could seem petty. Like, you know, it could be. We don't know the exact thing that made Jimmy Butler like, okay, I want to be traded, or with Kawhi Leonard like, okay, I don't want to be here anymore.
Mm-hmm.
It could be the smallest thing, and then it, you know, the and it can fester and turn into this big thing to where you pretty much have to trade him
Right.
before it turns into some big thing.
Yeah.
Right. So I agree. I think it hurts the fans, especially from a standpoint of if I'm a fan of this team, then all of a sudden something happens. Or yes, he wants money, but it's would trade me and all of that. Then as a fan, it's like, man, I like this team because of you. That's why you have so many fans.
It make
like,
you not even like the player
like
no more, right?
Boston, they don't like teams anymore. They like.
Yeah.
That's why you got so many LeBron fans that everywhere he goes, they just, you know, and I get it, but I don't know. I don't like it. So either or.